one of my favorite stories that you have, and for anybody that's listening, one of my favorite stories you have is what happened when your brother got a hold of your Sims account. Because you know, like anything, you can torture the Sims. And what did he do to your Sims family?
Well, no, I would work incredibly hard with my Sim family, and then I would come home and my brother David would put them in the pool and then remove the ladders on build mode. And he would put my whole family in the pool, or he would put them in rooms with a bunch of like electronics. And then I come home and everyone was gone.
They'd set fire.
They'd set on fire. But the thing is like The Sims also has like a Grim Reaper.
Yeah, because they come back as ghosts.
Around. They come back as ghosts.
Yeah.
And then there's like graves all over my property. And I'm like, David! Yeah. So yeah, no, thanks.
That's great. Brothers are great, aren't they? Brothers are awesome.
And I'd be like, whatever, Giant. Like,
no, you need to. So Natalie, my wife, only has her sister, but she has a brother-in-law, and of course now she has me. And that's the thing, is that I think when two girls grow up, it's a lot different than a girl and a boy, right?
Sisters fight apparently, because I don't have a sister. Sisters,
yeah.
And like fighting with my brother, like there was always a certain level, but like sisters go below the belt. Any friend I have with a sister, they're like, she says things that I wouldn't say to my worst enemy. They can cut deep.
I think because what it is, I think with sisters is like they're the one that can get you. They know your pain points.
Yeah.
And I wonder if your brother would say that about you, because I don't know if I don't think he can get under your skin probably the way that sisters can.
Oh, David can get under my skin.
Yeah?
He knows all my dark secrets, and I know all of his. But yeah, there's like this like certain like, I don't know. And there's actually a TikTok I saw the other day. It was like a woman in it, like she was like the point of view. She was like sitting in a tree and she's like filming, and the caption is like, we're at that point of the sisters' weekend.
Yes.
She's like a full grown woman, and her two sisters are like fighting on the bottom. They're like, you hurt me, Jennifer. And like, it's like, they all just get into these like just meltdowns.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen sisters fight, and like, it's brutal.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
So
and I love it.
My wife and her sister, so my sister-in-law, Lauren, like they're very close.
I love her.
But I remember Natalie told me that when they were in high school, because there's a 3-year difference. So Lauren would have been in grade 9 and Natalie would have been in grade 12. So it's a bit of a difference, but
perfect recipe.
Natalie would be walking down the hall and she'd see a sweater on Lauren that she'd been looking for.
Yeah.
And I guess Lauren's going to kill me for this, but Lauren is famous for just sort of swiping stuff. She does it to her husband, Doris. And so it's like, so Natalie and her would like get into these huge fights, and they weren't particularly close until they were adults. And it's like, I mean, not that they weren't close, but you know what I mean? Like they weren't like friends in that way, because that's a big gulf when you're a kid, being 15 and being 18, or being 7 and being 4.
And they don't understand where you're coming from either way. Yeah.
And so I think it's sort of funny now, because again, they're like best friends.
Yeah.
But when they get under each other's skin, it's like it happens fast, and it's hilarious to watch.
It is vicious and incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Now, one of the things, okay, so I want to just quickly touch on this worst fight you had as a sibling, because I didn't have any siblings, so I had a relatively peaceful sort of thing. And when I used to go over to people's houses or something, like one thing as a kid growing up, being a boy, boys like to wrestle and fight and, you know, and play hockey and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying women don't, but there is something inherent. Like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, another example is they have a little girl and they have a little boy. The little girl is very sports-oriented, physical, high energy, whatever. But when the boy came along, you get the sense of naturally how boys are just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And he's literally, and I love him. His name's Kian.
He's so chill.
He's Bam Bam.
Yeah.
He's just, I'm gonna grab everything.
Yeah.
And what's it look like? What's it sound like if I smash this?
Yeah.
And I love that about him. But like, it's, you know, my niece was not like that in that same way. So what was it when you guys fought? What was it like? Because I know with Natalie and Lauren, they were like, Natalie, I think, slammed a door once and you know, the door came loose or something, but that's like the worst. And you guys were close together in age too.
Oh, and we were so different. I was out of control and he was not. And David's biggest power, like the biggest strength he had, is that he could drive. And he could drive and I could not. And because David's 3 years older than me, but I just like, there was there's this common theme of David being like, well, you need to drive too bad. He would use it as a power move. Like, I'm going to leave you here, or I'm not going to drive you here. And I needed to go places, but I also didn't deserve to. I didn't deserve to. And I remember before, there was a theme of this before it was the car, because David and I were in Lac Saint Jean, Quebec on like a family vacation with my mom. And we were in a pedal boat, and I wasn't as strong as David. And so David was doing most of the pedaling, and we were out, and I remember things were so good, and then they weren't. And I don't know what I said or what he said, but we were just in it.
So you had an argument there on the paddle boat. We had a huge
argument. I think I was 11s and he was 15. And I was like,
I thought you were closer than that. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah. So we're 3 years. So I was 11.
Okay. So same as Natalie and Lauren.
Yeah.
Then.
So 11 and 14. And I said something, and like where we were, like it was a small, like Saint Jean's Bay, but we were like on a little island. So like you could hear us screaming, like my whole family could hear us screaming, like getting into this vicious fight. And then David pulled over to this like little mini island, because he was the muscle of the boat, and then left me there. And then, and like I could swim, whatever, like
on an actual island,
on a little island. And like I was capable of getting back, but he knew I had to work for it. And he's like, I don't care. Like, you're being stupid. And he left me there, and he went back. My mother was livid, but like she got it, because like I was cruising to be left on a little island.
Wow.
Yeah. And and so David,
you're going to sit there and think about it on your little island.
David and I's fight weren't so much like emotional. They were like, I'm going to strand you at Sobeys on Main Street, or I'm going to leave you up in Westfall, because like you can't drive. And then I would get so much like little sister energy, but he could,
wow.
You know, yeah.
Wow.
When he had enough, actually, when I think about that, I mean, that sounds worse than it was that my brother abandoned me on an island.
God.
But then I had to swim back, and I wasn't in good shape, you know? So like, yeah, big cranky girl coming back to shore. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, that's, these are all the things that I missed out with when siblings, I guess.
Getting left on an island?
Yeah.
Like, no. God.
Yeah, and it's so funny, eh? Like every person with a sibling has these stories, and yet, when you have a kid and you only have one, everybody goes, well, aren't they going to be lonely? And I'm like, dude, I was an only child. Do I have any issues making friends? Like none,
no.
Zero. You just become super close to your friends, and especially in your teen years.
I've seen some only children that have some issues making friends.
Well,
so,
yeah, my kid is pretty social.
She's lovely.
And she's an only child, but there is this sort of like guilt complex that people will give you, right? When you have children, by the way, especially, I find this with women. Women, it's like you're made to feel guilty if you don't have kids. Yeah. You're made to feel guilty if you have one kid, and you're made to feel guilty if you come across as tired when you have more than one kid. And it's kind of nuts, right? Like there's no way to win. And so anyway, long story short, people keep saying to Natalie and I, like, oh, well, you guys aren't going to have a kid. Like, you know, like, cause my daughter's from a previous marriage, and well, you know, I got this one. Don't you want to complete the family?
Like what?
And I'm like,
family.
What the hell do you mean complete the family? I think the family feels pretty good to me. Like, I don't know.
Like the nuclear, like, you know, white.
Yeah, well, if you don't have a kid, then it's not a real marriage. And that's what people think sometimes. And it's a little bit weird. But it's so funny talking to people with siblings, because I think that they forget how tense it can be when they're growing up. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they're like, you know, I had a second kid because I didn't want the first kid to be lonely. And I'm like, no, I think you just had a second kid because you had a second kid, and there's nothing wrong with that. The first kid will figure it out.
And like I gave David more trouble, but he probably would have preferred to be alone.
You probably get along better now that you live half a country away from each other.
Well, David and I think I was like really angry before I came out. So like once I kind of got my stuff figured out when I was about 17, 18, and also stopped, like I would steal his clothes.
So you were Lauren.
I would wear. I was like, what, David? Like what? And I'm like in his like ex goes from like, Jesus, Jack, and he's in his little Tercel like zipping down the road, being like, take my sweater off, and I'm like, what? Like just don't edit that out. But yeah, and so now we get along. But I'm sure his nervous system would have been a lot better without his like 11-year-old sister in raver clothes like screaming down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So,
of course.
Your Everly is fine. I'll be her friend.